Hello. Sam, can you unmute yourself?
Yes, I can.
Okay, good.
Thank you.
Happy New Year, Sherry.
Thank you.
Sherry, thank you for the card.
Oh, you're welcome. What are you doing still here anyway?
Hey, working hard, Sherry, of course.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Good evening, everyone.
Hello, Coach.
Hi, Coach.
Coach,
Unless there are people with the City Hall, we don't have a quorum.
Actually, Russ he said he was going to be at Town Hall. At least that's the last I had heard, or he said he would be physically there. Tom, are you at your office?
He's muted.
Or is he at Town Hall? If he's at Town Hall, I think Russ is going to be there too. Yeah, he's nodding.
Can you hear me now?
Great.
So is Russ there? I don't think Tom can hear it. Tom? Is Russ there?
They're working on the sound system.
Yeah. No,
Yeah, he is, okay.
he's nodding. We have a
Yeah.
quorum. That was the big thing.
Okay.
That was the main thing. We can wait on the on the technology, It's the folks that matter,
Mhm.
Hi Sam, how are you?
I'm well. How are you?
Good.
It looks like Hava is waiting to get in.
May not hear you
Cool.
guys.
Yeah, I don't think so.
You're asking if they can hear you.
No.
Can you hear us now?
Yeah,
Yes,
that's great.
we can.
Yeah.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, Russ,
Yes,
we
we
can
can.
actually.
Yeah.
Can't see you, but we can hear you.
No loss there.
Well, hey, it's a good thing you said that, Russ. That way, we didn't have to monitor our behavior, right? So Jacob and Jim,
So Hava is needing to be let in.
they postponed the testimony on e-finance.
Wow.
Because of the them changing their minds about how they were going to deal with the testing in schools. That was the cover for
yeah, well,
not
Coach,
having to.
you know if the audit report for the Windham School has reached the Ed Committee?
I'm pretty sure it has.
Hey.
you know, they were going to have a couple of your colleagues come as well, and
Yeah.
you know, so you know, it's one of those discussions they really don't want to have.
Yeah, I'm sure. I'm sure.
Because as soon as I figure out when they're going to do that, and next time I get, you know, the invitation, I'll make sure to copy you and Jacob and Ron, you know, Smith, and, you know, a few of our other allies. You know,
Yes, please do.
stir that pot right up. Did you hear the governor's budget suggestion, using part of the ed fund to pay down the tax rate for next year? Since there's
Well,
such a large surplus,
Yes.
you know, we've never seen anything like that in the ed fund.
Yep.
So they're talking about using that. So all of this work we did on our budgets and stuff, it won't be for naught, but it could be very
Right.
bizarre by
Yep,
the end
yep.
of the session.
Yeah.
But
Coach,
good
are they-
bizarre, I guess.
Any discussion about trying to, you know, when I say fix the retirement, the Vistras, just to start to put a Band-Aid on it even. I mean, there were
You know,
1.3 billion in the hole.
I think there, you know, that hasn't even hit their, you know, their thinking, because, you know, the 800-pound gorillas in the room are
Yes.
beating them up.
Right.
Yep.
All right. Do we want to get going?
Okay, it looks like we're all here. The gang's all here.
Except for Nancy, it looks like, but
Oh, she probably had the board state meeting.
right.
We'd like to call our special school board meeting to order Wednesday, January 19th. And are there any changes or additions to the agenda?
Coach, a couple little things. We need an actual vote, a motion and a vote about going fully remote for budget.
Right.
Budget discussion and candidates night, and the Saturday, the 26th meeting.
Yeah.
You know,
Well, I thought that was our town meeting cycle.
it is.
So,
I just wanted to make
okay.
sure before
Yeah.
we got there. And then
Yeah.
there was a small revision to the calendar that I just want the board to be aware of. I'm not sure you re-vote it, but I'd just like to clarify one little thing that was edited. And then I think that's pretty much it.
The one issue we don't seem to have addressed, according to an email I got from Kathy Newton, is the board letter to go in the report. Annual report.
I'll deal with that. That's
Okay, good.
That's on the list.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
We have a very tight window this year for the town
yeah,
report.
yeah.
Pretty much got to be to the printers tomorrow, but Friday at the very, very latest. So tomorrow.
Well, I'll finish it up tonight because I started working on it already, but I'll make it a point to finish it up tonight.
Thank you.
Besides, you never sleep anyway.
You know, just add it to the pile. Yeah.
All right, I move that we approve the agenda with the changes discussed.
I'll second.
So we have a motion and a second to approve the amended agenda. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? So moved. So, the independent auditors report. Jacob, do you want to lead us in?
Sure. So we have Sam from our auditor, RHR Smith, with us, and I think she's going to give a brief overview of the FY21 audit.
Am I good?
Thank you, Sam. Yes,
Everyone ready?
thank you.
I'm gonna try to make it as short and sweet as possible. So Jake, if you want to go down to, or whoever is controlling the screen, to page, it's statement C, so I think it's page like 15 or 16. Honestly.
That's
Nope,
statement
go
of
down.
activities.
One more.
2 more pages right here.
Right here?
Yes, actually, you can probably go down 2 more pages. There we go, right there.
Okay.
Okay, so if you scroll down a little bit towards the bottom of that page. All right. So like I said, I'll keep this as short and sweet as possible. You guys came into the year with 4.1 million. I'm gonna say this right off the bat. You guys are in a very healthy position when you compare yourselves to other school districts in the state of Vermont. You came in a little bit less on your anticipated budgeted revenues this year. And you underexpended on your budgeted expenses. A majority of that, and Jim or Jake, correct me if I'm wrong, was due to CRF funding that took a lot of your expenses out of the general fund.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
Okay. And we'll get back to that CRF in just a second. So Jake, if you
Excuse me.
want, yeah,
I
go right ahead.
apologize for interrupting.
No,
One
you're
of
fine.
our board members is trying to get into the meeting and she should hear what you're saying. So could somebody let Nancy in?
She's in, Pete.
Thank you.
Go ahead. I apologize for
All right.
interrupting.
Nope, that's okay. So with that, you guys had a net change in your fund balance of 472,000, bringing your ending fund balance for FY21 to 4.5 million. So Jake, if you want to scroll up to that other page, 2 pages up. So if you look at the bottom of this page here, it's going to give you a breakdown of your fund balances. So of that 4.5 million, 97,000 of that is non-spendable. And that is, it's mainly prepaids. I think it's all prepaids. And no one knows what prepaid expenses are. They're expenses that are paid in the fiscal year that you're in, but they're not meant to be extended until the next fiscal year. So they're held in that prepaid account. So that money has already been committed. It's already spent. Things in that line you'll see are like annual subscriptions. I think for your financial software, there were one other thing I think was a subscription. Preliminary audit fees. So we do preliminary audit work for your year-end audit. And so that is a part of that prepaid. And then any professional development for teachers, staff that is occurring in the next year. You have 675,000 of committed fund balance, which is going to be used towards your FY23 budget. Am I right on that one?
22.
22 budget.
Yep.
To lower your tax rate. And then you guys have 3.8 million of unassigned to play with. Like I said before, you guys are in a much better financial standing than when you compare yourselves to other school districts, other large school districts across the state. You know, the biggest thing that we talked about, and I talked about with the finance committee is, and Jim and Jake and I talked about it today, is having a plan for that money. You know, putting it in a tax stabilization reserve, putting it in a capital reserve. I know that Jim and Jake had said today that you have 1 million of that used in 23 or 24 to bring your tax rate down, and 800,000 was for a capital reserve. So you just want to have a plan for that money, because it just takes one taxpayer, two taxpayers to say, well, why do you have so much money and our tax rate is still staying the same or is going up? So just make sure that you have a plan for that money going forward. So on top of doing your year-end audit, we also perform a compliance audit. And since you guys expended over $750,000 in federal awards, you're required to have a compliance audit. We choose 1 to 2 programs, sometimes 3 programs a year to test, and this year was CRF, Coronavirus Relief Fund. I believe, and again, correct me if I'm wrong, that a majority of that money was used for salaries and benefits for employees during delayed starts or school
Correct.
closures by the state,
Yep.
due to the state mandates. There was no, we call them question costs. There was nothing we questioned. The easy part about CRF this year was there was really, I mean, it was an easy thing to test because it was used for either that. It was used for sanitary supplies, salaries for state mandated closures, and all that kind of stuff. So nothing, no red flags were raised during that. So going on to any management letter comments. So we issue you all a management letter, which has any recommendations or things that we feel that you need to work on. And it's kind of been the same thing every year and the issues really revolve around student activities. Student activities are primarily across all school districts, the weak link. So with your student activities, you know, we look at how long it takes them to go to the bank, how long it takes them from the time they get that money to the time that they deposit that money. We like to see that between 7 to 10 business days. We didn't really see that across a lot of the samples that we tested. Making sure you have substantial backup for all of the things that you're paying for, invoices, and all that kind of stuff. We just really need to make sure that we're you know, being very strict about the approval processes and whether or not we have the backup to support what we're paying for. The other thing that we noticed was there was one fund, I don't remember the school. I know that it has been since taken care of. There was a Sunshine Fund, I believe.
OQF.
Thank you. There was a Sunshine Fund that, you know, so the point of student activities is just for that. It's for the benefit of the students. And that fund seemed to be, based on what we were testing, primarily for the use of the teachers. And we don't want to see that. We want to see everything that's being managed by those funds to be used for the benefit of the students. That's what they're there for. So I believe that has since been taken care of and gotten off those books.
Yeah.
All right, cool. So that's my little spiel. I can answer any questions you guys have about the financial statements. I do know the last time I spoke to the finance committee, there was a correction on the financial statements that has been made. So I'm not sure if this is the most up-to-date one or not.
It is.
Yes.
Perfect. Okay. So yeah, so I'm open for any questions that you have. So fire away.
Yes.
Well, I do have one question.
Yes.
Student activity funds, like the amount we have, is that in line with other districts of similar sizes across the state?
Of how many student activity funds you have or how much money they have?
How much money?
I would have to look back and see. I don't remember the exact amount of money cash on hand that those student activity accounts had at year end. But I mean, it really varies. It varies on the size of the school district. It varies on what those student activity, what those, you know, athletics, any clubs, what they're doing to raise that money and where they get it from. So I can't really compare it just because it's such a district by district case as to how much money those funds have.
So if I may, with respect to the
Yes.
student activity funds,
Yeah.
the issue is a matter of making sure that we have the proper controls in place. There aren't actually any concerns about misuse of the money or anything based on the controls that exist. It's just we should have
Correct,
more. Okay.
Correct. Yeah. So we do a test of controls, and we do that for your general operating account, your special revenues, all of that kind of stuff. And we also do it for student activities. So we basically we test how a piece of paper gets from one place to another. And there are certain, best practice, as we like to call them, that we like to see regarding cash disbursements, bank deposits, and all that kind of stuff. So there are just some control things that I think need to be tightened up just a little bit.
But no misfeasance or malfeasance.
Nope, not that we saw.
Perfect.
And
Thank you.
Peter, I will mention that we just last week sent out a refresher on how to manage the student activities, what they should be looking for. And again, some areas where there was some, questions, we kind of addressed that, and we're going to follow through.
Yeah, and I will say, and I know that this is a sore subject, and Jim and I have had lots of conversations about this. So there's we have to follow GASB updates, and there's a new GASB update, GASB 84, which is basically making us look at the source of revenue and the management behind student activity funds, and determining whether or not those are going to start becoming like governmental funds. And if they become governmental funds, then they'll move to a separate spot on your financial statements. But we do always urge schools to put those student activities on their financial software. So right now your student activities are held on QuickBooks, managed separately by each school. We urge everyone to put those on your main financial software. And with this new GASB update, there might be more of a push to have that happen, depending on where those funds will lie in the coming years.
So I guess, Russ, that would be a good topic to add to the Finance Committee's discussions with both the auditor and Jim. Well, I should say Jacob, and Jim will probably chime in every once in a while.
Yeah. And Jake, I don't know if you have this. I have a whole flow chart that talks about how a fund is going to be classified in terms of GASB 84. I can send that to you if you don't already have it.
Yes, please.
For something to look through. Okay,
Yeah.
I will send that to you.
Great.
And actually, if you could share it with the committee, it's just good late night reading.
It's
Right.
so much fun.
There is something I like getting on the record, and if you don't mind to indulge me, on page 2.
Yep.
Section entitled Opinions. Would you just read that? That's the part I always care about.
Gotta get to it first. Opinions. In our opinion, the financial statements referred to above are fairly presented in all material respects. The respective financial positions of the governmental activities, business type activities in each major fund, and the aggregate remaining fund information of the Hartford School District as of June 30, 2021, and the respective changes in financial positions were applicable. Cash flows thereof for the year then ended in accordance with accounting principles generally accepted in the United States of America. So.
Thank you very much, Jim and Jacob. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Peter.
Yeah, I mean, I have to hand it to you guys. You guys have a great financial team. Jim and Jake work great together. The rest of their office is great. They're always so helpful. They're a pleasure to work with. So you guys should be very proud.
And we are.
Very much.
And that goes without saying.
And
we're really fortunate.
Coach and I are been around long enough to remember times when that opinion was not the opinion we were given.
Those were the dark days, Peter.
Yes, yeah, right.
The
other pandemic. The other pandemic.
Coach, can I ask a quick question?
Yes.
One thing I just wonder, because it strikes me as a little different from last year, was the amount of the fund balance. Do you have on hand, or maybe Jim or Jake does, the previous year, what we had left? Because if I remember right, last year was the year we were closed.
Sam's got it.
Well, the activities have been a little weird because of COVID. So
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
wonder, things have been a little bit skewed. So I just like to bring that up as we talk about our expenses. Maybe that was the previous year that we were closed in the spring. So that would have
Yeah,
been two years
so-
ago. Last year did start a little bit slower, where we had half the kids and then we had shorter days and a lot of activities weren't running. And so it just.
Yeah. So I mean, I can tell you that your beginning fund balance, which would have been your FY20 fund balance, was
Right.
4.1.
Right.
So you guys jumped about just under $500,000 in a year. I don't know exactly off the top of my head. We didn't audit your 2019 financial statements. We started with you in 2020, I think. Did we?
I think so.
Yes.
Yes.
I think so.
Yes.
I think so too.
That's correct.
So I don't have that number off the top of my head as to where you guys started in the beginning of 20. But yeah, I'm sure
We
that I could get
honestly
that for
have
you.
had a few years that have been significantly different than anything prior. So I
Yeah.
just bring that up because it does strike me, it's like, we never had that amount of a fund balance till the last couple of years.
Just to amplify Tom's point, a very large part of the chunk of the fund balance happened for the year ended June 30th, 2020, because of the COVID related expenses and grants.
Mhm.
The grants on top of the reduced spending because the kids were out and every other day at the high school and middle school. So we've had a few really strange years. Plus, we've had the influx of federal money that's been able to actually offset.
Exactly. And that's really what's offset a lot of it, is that income from the federal government, which I think is maybe slowing down, but I'm not entirely sure at this point.
Well,
It
and
feels
in
like
years
every day.
past- Right, and in years past, we were never allowed to supplant with that funding, but a lot of those rules changed with the federal, COVID relief funds.
Yeah, a lot of the federal grants that you guys receive are for a specific purpose. So special ed, Title I, and all that kind of stuff. You've never really
Right.
gotten a grant that encompasses the salvage of your general fund. And that's really kind of what CRF has done.
Yeah, we've never had that opportunity before too, so just to bring that up as some reasons,
Right.
for the public to understand.
Yeah, absolutely.
And
It's
Tom,
been pointed out. Go ahead.
Tom, I just want to say, I think the governor would echo exactly what you said, because the state of Vermont itself is looking for places to spend that money.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I just would, I think it's an issue the board's going to grapple with, but I also caution against anything long range, because it's probably not going to exist.
Exactly.
Yes.
It's probably not going to exist forever.
Yeah,
No.
exactly. That's where we get into that whole putting that money while you have it away, whether it's tax stabilization, capital projects, just a general reserve fund, to put that away somewhere for future uses.
Right.
It's I'm old enough to have lived through ARA funding several years ago. I think it was, and we got this influx of funding from the state, and we made a lot of expenses, improved and increased a lot of programming, and then the funding went away, and there was like this giant cliff.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Funding cliff that we faced. Just want to be careful about those kind of things.
Right.
That could happen with
Absolutely.
this funding too, where we're just all of a sudden, we started all these great counseling programs and programs for the kids, and all of a sudden the federal money dries up and we're left with the price tag.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
That was an issue I raised at our last meeting, so
Exactly.
I thoroughly go along with that. That said, credit has to be given where credit is due, and under your leadership and the great work done by the financial team, you did an extraordinarily good job of documenting COVID-related expenditures. So we were able to recover a lot of this stuff.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Absolutely.
991,000.
Yes, a lot.
That's why it worked.
Yeah. And again, I don't like to bring those items up as excuses. It's just facts that people should know as they're looking.
No,
at.
absolutely.
Well, that's part of, the transparency part, where there's no question. It becomes very clear, where and why and how. So thank you for all actually for adding those comments, because now, in this video age, it's there. Anybody wants to go back and see, they can, take the few moments and kind of review the process.
So, Coach,
Yes.
if there are no further questions, I'd like to move that we approve or accept, I should say, the independent auditor's report.
So we have a motion to accept the auditor's report. Do we have a second?
I second. Sorry.
So we have a motion and a second to accept the auditor's report for 2021, ending June 30. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So moved.
Thank you. Thank you, Sam.
Thank
you,
you,
You are
Sam.
very welcome. You guys have a good
Thank
rest of
you
your
very
meeting.
much.
Thanks.
Appreciate all of your help. Okay. So next piece of business. So Tom, do you want to
Sure.
lead that off?
Jake's gonna lead us in, but we did get this week, which is basically yesterday, because Monday was a holiday. So we did get some updated information from the State Agency of Education,
Yeah.
both yesterday and last night. So and both of those items affect our tax calculation sheet. So Jake, do you want to go over those couple of items, and then we'll
Sure.
see if what the board wants to do as far as the budget for next year.
So we did finally get the equalized pupil last Thursday at 5:05 p.m. And it dropped to 1,345.94, which was 5.4 pupils less than the first draft. So that obviously affects the tax rate, and that pushes us up to a 1.3% increase on the tax, and then a negative 9.1% decrease on the income based. And then we did get the 6-semester average for the tech center, which affect the general fund. Our tuition that we owed was about $3,000 less on the general fund. And then just looking at the tech center making a adjustment with one of the health insurance, that changed the number for the tech center. So if we're open to having a new number, that would be 43,687,968. But that assumes you're happy with a 1.3% tax increase. I mean, we're open to feedback, so.
Jake, on the form that you gave me today and that I sent to the board, it's 43,665,000. Or do I have the wrong form? 43,665,588.
Tom, you may have an earlier form.
Okay.
Uh,
What's yours?
Because I just want to tell you, the 6 semester average, when we put it in sometime at 10, you may have already gotten one at 8 o'clock. So the number is 43,687,968.
Can you scroll that down, please, so just so everyone can see? There you go. So that's under column E, line 2.
Correct.
Everybody see that fairly clearly?
Yes.
Yes.
Thoughts in regard to a 1.3% increase. That does include what we set aside from revenues from last year to reduce that number. So our final tax increase on the revenue side is 1.3%.
Right. And this
And then
also includes the reduction in the withholding for the HR health savings. Basically, I forgot the exact term that we discussed
We
last
made
time.
that adjustment across the board.
Yeah.
For the 275,000. So I think we're budgeted at, 70% on the HRA.
Right.
Yes. Yeah.
So
what would that do to the
It's already been built in.
Yeah.
Because that was the request from last week, was to make sure that it was factored in to the bottom line.
Yep.
And so it was spread across because we were at 100%.
Right.
And now we're at 70.
Actually, with the new number, isn't it 1.4%? Not that it really matters all that much. I can still support a 1.4 versus a 1.3, but I just plugged it into Jacob's. And I may not, oh, wait a minute, this may have the wrong, never mind, it may have the wrong, no, it has the right equalized pupil.
That doesn't factor in the 6 semester average changes and the other stuff, Russ. So I can send you a new
okay.
sheet if you want.
Fair enough. That would be appreciated. I'll retract my statement.
See, that was the update that came in later today, and that was the reference that Jake and Jim had made about 8 o'clock this morning versus
It's
10
been a
o'clock
busy
this
morning.
Yeah,
And I just wanted-
I got two different versions just today, Jake.
And I want to apologize to the superintendent and board, but I just want you to know, we received this information today from the Agency of Education. If we had had it prior, we would have given it to you prior, but this was just brand new today.
Yeah. No, I fully understand.
we've run into this phenomenon before.
Yeah. There's nothing to apologize for, Jim. But the other thing this illustrates is the frustration that even the most revised numbers are an estimate, because until the yield calculation's approved,
Right.
Correct.
This is just our best guesstimate.
Correct.
Right.
You got it.
We've had years where we thought we were making a reduction and had an increase, and years where we thought we had an increase and it ends up being a reduction. I
Right.
mean, that
Mhm.
that drastic.
Yes.
Remember, we went through painstaking cuts and ended up with the yields changing in a way that was favorable for us, and we had no reduction. So,
Right. Right.
so
And I
as
guess-
far as what it doesn't count, go ahead, Russ.
No, I'm sorry. I guess the other thing is, having watched the governor's budget address, while
Yeah.
it's no guarantee, it's quite possible there will be a favorable adjustment this year in some way, shape, or
Exactly.
form.
Exactly.
That's true. Yeah, I
Keep your
watched. it
fingers
too.
crossed, Russ.
Yeah, I got both. I got my toes crossed.
And as the superintendents and the school boards association, all know all too well, we still have the weighting factors to deal with.
Yep.
And that could have an additional effect, and at least so far the preliminary, let's say back of the napkin calculations show that we won't get hurt by that.
7%. It's
So
I just caught that.
Yeah. Okay, so Jake and Jim, would you mind taking a look at the warning document, so we know
Yes.
that there's two numbers going to change in there.
Right.
Right.
So can we post that so we can, if we could, just so that everybody's on the same page.
Yeah.
The tax calculation sheet.
Whoop.
Could we just put that up for
Yeah.
a split second again? And let's go back to line 2, column E, and we're all looking at 43,687,968.
Correct.
So that's our number, and now we can look at the warning. Am I on the right path?
Yes. Yes, you
Yeah.
are.
Okay, good.
Exactly.
So now
what-
we can look at the warning.
Provided everyone, on the board would
Mhm.
wants to support that. You have to make a new motion, because the motion from last Wednesday is different.
Right.
Right. Well, that's why I'm being very
Okay, that's good.
intentional
Right.
about this
Okay.
part of the
Roy's got
process.
it.
So I would like to move that we amend the total budget expenditure for FY '23 to reflect the most recent numbers we have received to the state, and authorize an expenditure of 43,000,
43 million, Peter.
33 million. I keep on making a mistake. And I've got the wrong number up, so I can't even do it from,
687,
yes,
968.
that number. Thank
Yes.
you.
Right.
But then
And we also need to have
Let's
the
adjust the equalized,
pupil
yes,
number adjusted.
in the percent of increase
It's right here.
or
I know.
Right.
Oh,
I'm doing my
Yeah.
calculation.
Mhm.
Do it twice, please.
18,557. Okay. That's just the cost per pupil increase.
The way it's
So the-
always reflected, Russ.
So the sorry to butt in, but I'm gonna do this just because. Anyways, the equalized pupil number that needs to go into the warrant is
Right.
now going to be, can you tell us, Jake?
18,000.
557 and 11 cents.
okay. And
Yeah.
that results in an increase of
7%.
0.0. No, it doesn't change that effectively. All right.
No, number's wrong, Peter. Because
Yeah.
that's reading 0.07%.
Ah,
And,
Should be 7%.
7%. Okay.
or 7.6, but who's called?
Okay.
So,
So the accurate number for the projected spending per equalized pupil is
18,557, 11
11,
cents.
with the
and the percentage
Is
still
7.
rounds to 7.
Reflected as a decimal or as a percent, but not as both. Is that what you're
Yes.
saying?
Yeah.
Right.
0.7% then, or 7%.
Right,
7, yeah.
7%.
So
Okay,
it is still
7%.
0.07% higher.
Correct.
No.
Are we in a
No, it's 7% or 0.07 higher,
Yes.
No,
whichever
well,
way.
no? I'm not worried about how we say it. I want to make sure it is written
Right.
accurately. So
Right.
my question again is it 0.07% higher?
No.
7% higher.
So it's 7%. So there is no 0.0.
Right.
Yeah.
That was my question.
Yeah. Yes.
And coach, I just want to help, and I can say this. If you take 1,315 divided by 17,241.83, you should arrive at 7%.
This minus this divided by that. Is your increase.
Because you take the difference
I
between
took-
last year's and this year per
This is
student.
the 13.
Yeah.
You know, it's this minus
Mhm.
this.
Last
And
year's,
that's the difference.
Okay. So,
how would
So
you like?
now, Peter, we can do now we can do our motion.
can we put together a amended warrant number to show on the screen, and then I will read it off just to make sure we're all in agreement from the numbers, because we've done this a couple of different ways.
Yes.
Mm.
And it would be simpler for everybody if you will put up on the screen the amended document
We're
with the
trying.
correct numbers.
Working
We'll all
on it.
look at it the same. Good.
We're working
And we will all look at it at the same time.
The board.
And I will
should think-
attempt to say millions instead of thousands.
Board should think about whether you want to reflect it as a decimal or as a percent. So.
Let's just do it as a percent. I think that's what's
Right.
required.
Percent, right, so it's like, potato, let's
Mhm.
decide on potato.
We're waiting for Roy to be able to share his screen. There's some
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
little glitch here.
Understood.
Good.
It says I'm sharing it. Hold on 1 second. I apologize for the delay.
One second.
I'm unstable. I think
Maybe Jake, you should have the latest warnings. They were in the email I just sent like 15 minutes before the meeting started.
This has nothing to do with us. Like, you should. It's just the connection. I guess so.
Yeah. Yeah, it's probably the connection. Sometimes the connection in this room is a little wonky. So maybe,
Yeah.
I was.
maybe Jake could share. It should be labeled final warnings 119 to 2022 annual warnings. You see them? If not, any of the board members had received those.
Okay, it should be coming up.
Is that
Yeah,
Okay, it's
there
up.
we go.
It's
All right.
Is that Jake's or Roy?
He's correcting the numbers right now.
Yeah. You'll notice a few changes from the other night because in working with the attorney and with the town clerk and the warnings for the town, we made everything sort of synchronized as much as we could.
Yeah.
So yellow areas are areas that I need your input
Mhm.
on both documents, and you'll see the highlighted numbers you just discussed.
hmm
These warnings also anticipate that you'll vote formally to hold those meetings remotely, so we might want to do that first.
All right.
That's a little bit weird to, these motions include.
Things that are, yes.
Yeah, I mean, it's up
So-
to you. I suppose it's up to you.
So let's get this corrected.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So it's done, and then what we will do is we'll have the necessary motions to move forward.
Yeah, correct. You're just voting on the budget number now, not the actual warning.
Right.
Right.
Exactly.
Good, sorry.
But I understand. I just wanted to have the
Well, we
numbers in
wanna-
front of us all at the same time.
Well, that was the idea, let's get it corrected, so that we can all look at it and say, there's 13 people on the call and 13 people agree.
Or at least
Just a
in this
little,
case. Yes.
just out of, actually, there's 9 of us,
Mm,
according to the participation thing.
all right.
So who's doing
So-
the editing?
Yes. Is anybody able to edit the document we are currently looking at?
I thought Jake was. Is he not
Looks
able?
like he,
He thought we were. We thought he was.
He was doing it.
there it is. All right.
There it is. There it is.
All right.
That's the
So-
doc.
If I may, I'd like to move that the board approve an FY 2023 budget of $43,687,968, which will result in an education spending of $18,557.11 per equalized pupil, which is 7% higher than the spending of our current year.
Cool.
Is there a second?
Is there a second?
I'll second.
There is a motion from Mr. Merrill and a second from Mr. North. Any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll do this by name so that we know.
There we go.
Coach,
Russell?
Coach,
No, we're going to
Go
do a
ahead.
roll call.
Coach,
Yes, sir.
I just want to mention, just the 7% should probably be 7.63%. Just,
Okay. But then the basic number is the same.
yes,
Okay.
Yes.
I don't think we need to amend the motion because what we're really voting on is the total spend.
correct.
Right.
And the estimate just flows out of it.
Yep.
Exactly. So we'll go Russ,
Yes.
Peter,
Yes.
Nancy,
Yes.
Hava,
Yes.
and myself, yes. So we have passed the budget. And the next item that we need to address is the board compensation.
Can I ask coaches, because I need to file these tomorrow or Friday. Are you saying put 7% or am I amending that and putting 7.63?
I would say 7.63 in the.
Yes, yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Transparent.
That's what we're putting it out there the way we're all in agreement.
And then
That's what
explain the difference between that and the actual tax rate.
Jim, that was the
exactly.
number, correct? 7.63, Jim?
That's correct.
That's the one he just gave us. So
Yeah.
Yes.
so the next item would be to approve the compensation of board members. So those three numbers need to be addressed in a motion.
Okay, so I would like to move that for the coming school year, commencing on July 2022, school directors be compensated at $75 per meeting, with the chair being compensated $300 for the school year and the clerk compensated $150 additional for the school year.
A second.
So we have a motion and a second to accept the numbers presented in item 2.
And since there was a 7% rate of inflation last year, the voters are getting a good deal.
That's right.
And so that being said, is there any other discussion? Okay, we'll start with the vote. Russ,
Yes.
Peter,
Yes.
Nancy,
Yes.
Hava,
Yes.
yes. The next thing we need to do is to vote on our process, Tom.
Yeah, it's to vote officially that you want to hold both candidates night, budget discussion night, and the Saturday town meeting fully remotely.
So moved.
Second.
So we have a motion on the floor to accept our process for the town meeting cycle to be fully remote. Unless there's any other discussion. Russ,
Yes.
Peter,
Yes.
Nancy,
Yes.
Hava,
Yes.
and yes. Now, Tom, we have to agree now on the whole warrant, correct?
Yes.
Mhm.
Yeah, I would appreciate that. I mean, as amended, those numbers were
Right.
So, I mean,
So that was part of the reason for the special meeting,
Yeah.
was to ensure that we had the most current reflection of numbers from AOE.
correct.
Right. And there is no need to address the $800,000 for the current fund balance to establish the Hartford School District Capital Project Reserve Fund 2022, because we had already addressed that at the last
Exactly.
meeting.
Right.
Just for clarification.
Yeah,
Thank
so
you.
With
I
those
would like,
your warnings for
Right.
town meeting are done. You just need
Right.
to approve them.
I would like to move that we approve the warning for the annual Hartford School District meeting to reflect the decisions just made.
Second.
So we have a motion and a second to accept the amended warnings as presented. Unless there's any further discussion. Russ,
Yes.
Peter,
Yes.
Nancy,
Yes.
Ava,
Yes.
and me, yes.
Thank you very
And-
much.
And Tom, is there any other voting action that needs to be taken
No, I
for
think
that?
You're all set with those, just FYI, so the board's aware and whoever's listening. All the Zoom information and CATV information is exactly the same as the town, so there's not gonna be any confusion.
Mhm.
And we will go first on Saturday, the 26th, so the school board's turn to be first, so 10 o'clock, just so you're aware, in case anybody else.
Cool.
Tom, this is Nancy. Do we have to come by and sign this?
Yes, you can, what's your preference? I can send it electronically, or you can come by and sign it as soon as possible, but I have to file them hopefully tomorrow with the town clerk.
Let's do it
Well,
electronically.
Electronically. Because that's what we had to do last time, and it was
Right.
it was the quickest,
Okay,
and we know that everybody's signature got there.
sure.
Yeah, so look for the two documents tomorrow. You'll have to sign both.
Mhm. Okay, great,
Then I'll file them and we'll be all set. So thank you.
Great.
very much.
great. Fantastic. Tom, just a quick process question. Were you able to pull the page out of the last year's report that had our terms on it for the page?
I will put that in, you wanted me to put that on the website, correct?
Yeah, right underneath our names, you
Okay.
know, so that the public knows what our terms are. Well, actually, so we know what our terms are.
Related
So
to that,
be perfectly honest, right?
related to that, since I'm one of the two people up for re-election or possible re-election, I had put my name on the ballot. So,
I have to.
yeah.
Great.
So unless the
Which
town
is
wishes
which
to
is
switch
great,
things up.
which is great that that's all we had to do was the the commitment page versus
Right.
Right.
having to stand masked and spraying each other with insecticide. No, okay.
Coach, can I ask a quick clarifying question?
Ava, yes, please.
Thanks. Thank you. When we're asking Tom to put our terms under our names on the page, are we asking him to put Hava Walther 2-year term? Are we asking him to put Hava 2020 to 2022?
Well, whichever one, what's our preference as far as clarity?
When the terms are up is more relevant.
Yeah.
So
I agree.
the beginning and end dates for the term will be more informative than a 3-year, because several of us had 3 years, several of us 2 years.
Yeah.
Right.
It's when they start and end that the public is going to want to know.
I agree with
When
that.
does
So
it
if the
end?
public wants to get rid of me, this is their chance. The rest of you, they won't have a chance for a while.
Oh, geez. Thanks for that clarifying question, Hava. And thanks, Tom, for doing that. You know, that, it was interesting. We got a request for some information, and we're all presenters and educators of some sort or another. So, we're used to student questions, and so when somebody says, well, I can't find that, and you go, well, it's there. That's when you have to start asking yourself the question, how presentable is there? So anyways, it's about our page, and to be perfectly honest, in dealing with a lot of colleagues across the state, like Nancy does too, when we share our website with other board members across the state, they just come back and go, wow.
Yeah.
They don't say much more, they just say wow. And the thing is, the cool thing for us is that we're not satisfied with it, from a perspective of we want it to be even better, and I know Tom, is there too, in the administration. So that's what makes it even cooler,
We just did a bunch of work to it to clean it up. It needed a little work. So Professor Johnson, who handles the website, and I consolidated the meetings and cleaned it up so it's really neat and tidy if you want to go look at the board page. Also take a look at the policy page, because that a lot of work just went into that. So Pete and I
see, that's what I mean.
policy page. There's a lot of stuff in there, and it's all updated just recently. So,
and that, I know it might seem like little things to some folks, but those are the things that help, I think, along the way.
And despite the fact that over the years I've touched just about every single one of those policies at some point or other, having it available to review and remind myself what's there is the great help. So I truly appreciate that.
Yeah, for sure. And I again, I want to say kudos to our financial team, and we don't often see Sherry on our meeting, but kudos to you, because you get our stuff so tight, and that is incredible. Having to deal with public information requests and all of that insanity, knowing that our information is right on target makes a big difference.
speaking of clarity, there was one comment that I found out about after our last meeting about the calendar, and it pertained to one of those additional holidays that we named. So someone said, well, Cinco de Mayo actually isn't a holiday. It's and it's not really celebrated in Mexico. Not very important in Mexico. So we took that off the calendar. So I sort of turned the blue black and took that off the list. I didn't want the board to see the calendar and go, oh, this is different than the one we passed. So I don't know.
Cinco de Mayo is a little bit like St. Patrick's Day, where the population that has immigrated to the United States celebrates it as a recognition of their culture and so forth, where the countries that we escaped from or were exported from don't do it as much.
Want to leave it. I don't know. We just heard from a few that really wasn't appropriate, but
it's not a religious holiday in the same way. That is true.
No, it's not.
Exactly.
And I don't want to diminish the other holidays by having that.
Right.
But we did a survey of all the families, and it came up as important to some people. But when we started researching it, we realized, well, maybe that's not so.
Right.
Of distinction on that list.
Right. All right.
Okay.
Are
So
there any,
is there any other? No, go ahead.
is there any public comments? I don't think we have a public at the moment.
In the minutes were in there, but I think you should do those at the next regular meeting.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. That makes sense.
Tom, I have a quick
Ben.
question if you don't mind. I understand that we're already out of the test. Do we know when we're going to be getting more back in?
Well, yeah, that was interesting.
Yeah, I
Today,
heard.
we're out of the tests at the high school, the antigen test. We have plenty of the PCR tests, so that's what we're supposed to revert to. I did order 3,000 antigen tests today, and they'll be here. They haven't promised a date. They said as soon as possible, but we're supposed to get shipments every week of the tests. So we're trying to figure out when that first shipment is going to come. As far as I understand, the elementary schools and the middle school are okay. It's the high school. Basically needs about 70 tests a day. So.
Yeah, it came up in the Hartford Community Coalition meeting a while ago, and I was just curious.
Well, and this is sort of my existence this year, where we get this guidance and we implement it, and then people don't follow through with the materials or the supply.
Right.
And I'm left looking awful because that was the new protocol.
Well, you know, that was brought up in the meeting tonight, though. It said they weren't blaming you at all. They were, it was blaming.
Well, it's at the other end. It's at the other end.
Yes, it is. Yeah.
Of the control.
Exactly.
Mechanism.
I was just curious.
It's just like applying online at the health center's site, and we were supposed to all be able to get 2 tests apiece. And within an hour and a half of the time that the site was opened, they were out.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I mean, you know, that's some really cool planning, you know. If any of us planned something that way as many times, we'd probably be looking for other forms of engagement.
Yep.
On the nurses in my calculations, we need about 1,500 tests a week to make sure we have it. So the 2-week supply was 3,000. Yeah, so hopefully we get them tomorrow or Friday.
Cool.
Basically gonna fill the entire conference room at my office, but we're not using it for in-person meetings, so it can be a supply room for a while.
Yeah.
And another
you're going to need a security guard, you know,
Another quick question: how are we doing with the K95s for the teachers and the staff?
We have a supply of them. We're continuing to keep up on the stock so that we can order more. They're not that hard to get right now. We just got to keep up.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, at least one in this industry ramped up well, you know, to meet the demand. So we're fortunate there.
Yeah, we feel a little better with that. Are you all getting the notices now of the positive test?
Yes. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
My daughter had reported midweek that she wasn't still getting. I think she sent a note to you.
You did.
So I'm not sure the high school students are necessarily getting all the ones relating to the high school.
Well, I followed up and asked her, and she said she was getting it.
Okay, good.
It's unfortunate, but the way the information system works, I can only send it to parents and staff. So we have to do another process to send it to the students. That's okay. And it's only to the high school students.
Yeah.
Right.
It's another layer of encryption.
Right.
Yeah, we're getting ready to set up a new bureau in state government, and you know, it'll be interesting. It's called the Bureau of Racial Justice Statistics, and as you can see, it's a necessary adaptation for the state.
Mhm.
But you know, the resistance is a little bizarre, you know, but at least it's being recommended by our consultants from the Council of State Governments that
Mhm.
Vermont go in that direction. So, and it's in the grand scheme of things, when you've got a $7 billion budget and you're talking about an entity that'll be $560,000. Yeah, I saw all the math going on, and everybody's going like, those are rounding errors, you know.
I just hope you don't have it done by the same people who are pulling together the statistics for the state's educational institutions.
No, this is I can tell you already, it ain't that. Oh, geez.
All right.
Well, I really want to thank everybody for joining us tonight.
And I wish to.
Mission accomplished.
Can I just remind everyone of our meeting on the 26th, where the
Yes.
people who doing the Haven projects are going to be making a presentation. All public
Yes.
is encouraged to come and participate in the discussion.
Absolutely.
Do you think they're gonna be here live, or will they be remote, or?
I can follow up. I'll follow
I'm
up
just
on that,
curious.
Tom.
Yeah.
And I guess the question would be, probably want them early in the agenda.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
The only thing on the agenda.
That's the only thing I was
Yeah.
putting forward. So other than, so we can, just so I can tell them the time.
Unless coach has something else, I didn't plan, usually the engagement meetings, it's that item.
Yeah. So we'll go ahead and set it for them being at the front end, and if anything comes up that needs to be done administratively, we'll just do it at the close of the meeting, because it will not be like too much. A 10
We'll be
minute
hybrid?
activity.
Oh, sorry, Coach. We'll be hybrid next meeting.
Yeah. That's our process, so.
Yes. Yeah.
I just want to confirm.
Yeah, I mean, they have the option.
Yeah, I know.
Whether they're here, if they want to be remote.
Because they'll have board members coming, from the entities involved in the project, and we don't know who the town might suggest to come as well, because if it was if it was us, we'd have the respective departments involved as well, just for in case the public needed clarity. It's like having Kathy and Roy here to be able to clarify their respective divisions. But that's kind of just a thought.
Coach?
Yes.
It's in no way indicative of the tremendous regard in which I hold all of you, but I'd like to move that we adjourn.
I second that.
Thanks a lot, guys. No. We have a motion and a second to adjourn the meeting. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. And thank you all so much.
Thank you for your time.
Good
Thanks.
job, Tom, and Jacob, and Jim, and Roy, and Kathy. We're on the home stretch.
Thank you all.
Take care, everyone.
Good night. all.
Thank you.
Good night.
Good night. All right.